And again, as I said, the previous match was the women's showcase match, and I think it was just put there to set up the bigger matches later on in the card. And true enough, the next match was Gunther versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Now, uh, thoughts about the match? Again, Sheamus and McIntyre started off the match, and then Gunther at some point blindsided them and delivered some very brutal chops. And I must say, I put in my notes that Gunther's chops and kicks look really good, and like they really look like they hurt, and they probably did hurt, right? And then after some time, after the shuffle, it was then McIntyre and Gunther's exchanges. Uh, again, the thing about triple threats or three-way matches is that it feels like all three of them are never in the ring at the same time, which I think kind of defeats the purpose of the triple threat match. At certain points in the match, they would just have two competitors in the ring with one competitor laying on the floor or not even in the shot of the match. That kind of takes away from me again of the purpose of the triple threat, which is to make sure that there are three competitors there who are exchanging blows and who create really pandemonium there because there are three competitors instead of two. But I think if you put only two competitors there with one lying on the floor, it takes away from the essence of the triple threat match. And I understand they kind of have to do that maybe because it's harder to lay out a 3-man match as compared to a normal 2-man match. So, but I wish that they could have involved the three individuals more. Anyway, going back to the match, McIntyre and Gunther exchange chops, and again, the chops were brutal, I have to say, and this really got the crowd into it. It felt like they were really in a big brawl, and when you look at the match, you could really say that I don't want to get hit by that, and that's not something I'd want to get hit with, right? So that was a good visual again. I think it was a recurring theme over the match. And then of course Sheamus makes his comeback, and then he executes the 10 beats of the Barden or Badgen. I don't know how you say it, but the 10 beats. Let's call it the 10 beats. But again, what was different here was that instead of Sheamus only executing the 10 beats on Gunther, Sheamus and McIntyre alternated beats or 10 beats on Gunther. So again, that was a fun visual. After that, Sheamus then did the 10 beats on McIntyre. And my thing is that I'm not sure if this is the rule, but the ref didn't count him off when he started doing more than 10 beats. I think he did 29 to 30 beats, and yeah, it did get a good crowd reaction. But again, I think it kind of bears the referee, because you would think that if you did 29 to 30 chops on a person on the ropes, the ref would start counting, right? Unless unless the rule was no disqualification, and they didn't make it clear here if it was no disqualification. So let me know what you thought of that spot, guys. You can always comment down below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Anyway, continuing in the match, McIntyre eventually got a future shock DDT on Gunther, and then he went for the Claymore, but Gunther reversed it and moved out the way. Then Gunther hit McIntyre with a powerbomb, which is his finisher. Then, of course, because it's WrestleMania, McIntyre kicks out of that powerbomb. Then Sheamus got back into the shuffle with Gunther. Sheamus hit his white noise off the second rope, which got a big pop. Then he hit the Celtic Cross on Gunther, but Gunther kicks out of that one. Then Sheamus did the Cloverleaf on Gunther. But when he was doing the Cloverleaf on Gunther, McIntyre then moves back into the ring and chinlocks Sheamus, which allows Sheamus to break the Cloverleaf he had on Gunther, right? Then eventually Sheamus, when he was able to recover, he went for the brogue kick against Gunther, and he hit that brogue kick. But when he went for the cover, McIntyre pulled his leg, so the referee was not able to complete his 3 count, preventing Sheamus from winning. And then McIntyre and Sheamus made the face off. And at this point, the crowd was really into it, and they got "This is awesome" chants from the crowd. And again, McIntyre and Sheamus duked it out. McIntyre went off the top rope to the floor, which got "Holy SHIT" chants from the crowd. And again, this I think highlighted the fact that McIntyre going off the top rope in such a big match was more special, right? Because in normal matches or in an episode of SmackDown or Raw, you wouldn't see Drew McIntyre going off the top rope. And I think it makes it, again, all the more special because he pulls out this type of move in big matches, which emphasizes and which highlights the gravity of the match or the importance of the match. And I think those are how those spots should be used. They shouldn't be used frequently, right? They should be used in special occasions. And I think McIntyre did a good job of pulling this move off at this point. And that's why it got the "Holy SHIT" chance again. And it was not a move that didn't make sense, unlike some other high flyers who think that doing 100 moves in a span of 5 minutes is the way to get the crowd invested in the match. The fact is that might get the crowd popping for the specific moves or the moves that you do, but they do not get the crowd into the match itself. So that was a good spot by McIntyre. Then eventually McIntyre goes again for the Claymore, but then he gets broke by Sheamus. Sheamus covers McIntyre, but McIntyre kicks out. Another false finish here. Next, then of course McIntyre hit the Claymore to Sheamus, but another kick out. So again, another false finish. Then another broke by Sheamus, but this time Gunther, when Sheamus was covering McIntyre after the broke, Gunther comes off the top rope, out of the screen onto the screen, and splashes Sheamus while McIntyre was under Sheamus from the top rope. This got a big pop, and then Gunther powerbombs Sheamus into McIntyre. Then Gunther powerbombs McIntyre himself. He pins McIntyre 1, 2, 3, and they got a standing ovation from the announcers and the crowd because again it was a hot match. It was a good match, and it was just an all-out brawl, physical brawl. Comments about the match: again, a very physical match. Maybe at the end there were a little too many false finishes, but I may be nitpicking here. Because I think they could have ended it earlier with the multiple brogues or the multiple claymores, but I understand that they wanted Gunther to keep the title, so they had to make the finish much more special. But it was really a brawl, and the crowd wanted to see a brawl between these three, and that's what they gave them. That's why the crowd was very happy. Overall, a very good match, and again, at the end of it, the crowd and the announcers were standing at the end, which is definitely a good sign.